Today we talk about envy, yikes, and wrath, eek, scary. Well, breathe. We're all okay. That's why we're deconstructing this, to free our hearts from this fear. People in power often accuse and shame us of the very things they do. It's all about projecting. They project onto us their sins, their crimes, that sleight of hand, that narrative that keeps us from seeing what is happening to us. Our goal here is to free you from the shame and guilt that is poured onto you so others can maintain their power and wealth. Not today. Let's do this.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
Hello and welcome to the FreedHearts podcast. My name is Robert Cottrell and I'm here as always with
Susan Cottrell.
Hi there.
Hi,
How
good
are
to
you?
be with you.
Yeah, good to be with you, always. We talked about pride and then we talked about greed and lust. So we want to finish up this deconstruction of the 7 deadly sins. So what's left? Envy, wrath, sloth, and gluttony. And that's why we're the feel-good podcast of the summer. We could do an episode on each of these, and the main point would be how those in power, be it the religious leaders or the top 1% or politicians, they want you to keep your focus. They want us to keep our focus on how worthless we are. And you don't see how deeply they're entrenched in all of these sins to maintain their power and wealth and influence.
Yeah, it's like a red herring.
Yeah, absolutely. And that misses the entire point completely of how beautiful and magnificent, what we say, how beautiful and magnificent you are as you are, period. So they pile on guilt and shame and accusations that we're being envious while they market a message to us that we need their product to keep up with your neighbors. Oh my God.
To increase envious.
Right, exactly.
Envy.
That we're being wrathful anytime we express righteous anger in what they're doing to oppress various groups of people. That people are being lazy when they simply need help or when they simply want a fair share or a fair chance. And that we're being gluttonous even though they want you to overconsume and overpurchase to line their pocketbooks. Everyone sigh, ready?
Can we throw up in our mouth? Okay.
Again, we could do an episode on each of these and really get into the details, but we're not. We're not going to do that because we want to get back to deconstructing the core, fundamental, foundational beliefs so we can help your heart be free and break these chains of bondage. There are people that we talk to sometimes that say, I deconstructed 40 years ago, but I still struggle with this. And we've told the story often about the man in his 70s who said, I wonder what God really thinks of me. And you don't need to be left there. So these false teachings are so deeply ingrained that even though you may be well down the journey of deconstruction, they're still there. And you don't deserve that. You deserve better than that. So, but
remnants
again,
may still be there.
Yeah.
We don't want to say they're still there.
Right.
If you've deconstructed a lot, but just remnants that come up. Yeah.
And it's important that you don't get tripped up over these accusations and anything else that they throw at you and anything they say or throw at you that makes you feel even slightly guilty or ashamed and get you to not shine the light on their own indefensible behavior and oppression. And our hope is, again, that this raises your awareness, puts all of this on your radar screen so that you can free yourself from what they're trying to do. And so that light continues to shine on them, the billionaires, the corporations, the religious leaders, with the hope that we all become more aware of the truth of all of this. You know what I mean? And when we do become aware, change can happen. Change can happen. And so we're going to make quick work of these last fun, envy, wrath, sloth, and gluttony.
In 2 sessions.
Right.
2 episodes.
So today it's envy and wrath. Oh boy.
Yay.
So let's start with envy.
Oh, envy. Okay. Well, people without freedom tend to be envious of people with freedom. That's what I've really found about envy, that the more freedom you have, the more you want to be aware of others' envy, because people who are hurting will tear you down in a heartbeat. We know that already. Hurt people hurt people. But then when you can identify it and name it, it frees you not to take their criticisms to heart. And I really have found that about envy, that if you're jealous or envious or whatever of somebody else's vacation, it's the freedom element, I think, that like, I want that kind of freedom. I think that's what it is.
Well, I think it also triggers the unfairness and oppression that we're under.
Yes.
All the time.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they envy your freedom. Freedom is so beautiful, and they wish they could let themselves have it, but they can't seem to do it. And so they have to make you bad, instead, like a bad scapegoat, bad. Oh, that's my
wow. I don't know. I need to up my jokes because you clearly feel the need to take over the joke department.
So that was our scapegoat.
Not to shame you or guilt you or be envious of your humor.
But this scapegoating thing, this very important point I'm trying to make.
Sorry.
About scapegoating. So we experience that actually in our family, among siblings and cousins and in-laws. We've had alcoholism, drugs, affairs, divorce, secret lives. But it's our queer child and us who get booted, not only rejected, but talked about and scapegoated.
Yeah.
And so, and if you're keeping score at home on the Bible, Saul and David saved the kingdom. He killed Goliath. He slew the Philistines, whatever. And Saul got so jealous that he decided to kill David. Oh, that's good. And Joseph and his brothers. The brothers got so envious of this princess dress.
I'm sorry. Wait, what?
Yes, it is a princess dress.
It is.
It's the same word as used for David's daughter, Tamara, in her princess dress. She was a princess. And so, but that doesn't go over well in the Bible, so we don't use princess dress. But that's what it was. That's my slight detour. But the brothers were jealous, not of the princess dress, but of the significance of his dad's special favor for him. And so, it's throughout.
Yeah. So understand that, I guess our point there is that envy is, if you want to get down to the core of the quote sin of envy, I think it comes down sometimes to not being grateful. You know what I mean? Not expressing gratitude. And that doesn't mean accepting our
oppression and being grateful for the crumbs, right?
Right. It just means being grateful. Again, just to sum up what you said, the idea there is that people will make you feel envious or make you feel like you're wrong because they're envious of your freedom. You know what I mean?
That your freedom is wrong because they won't give it to themselves. Yeah.
That's right. So next, I'm sorry, do you have something else?
Nope.
Okay. So next we're talking about wrath.
Wrath. Yay. We have to keep it light here, folks. We have to kind of lift our spirits. We've talked about how people in power who want to stay in power view your power as a threat. So they don't want you to have power, which translates to freedom to be who you are. They don't want you to have that freedom because that might risk their power over you. So they accuse you of the very things they do, a classic strategy. They seal the exits we talked about earlier to convince you that you need them and you must let them tell you what to do. It's a very effective way to keep people under your thumb. And a very effective part of this is to just label you as bad. Again, the ad hominem attack, where you attack the person instead of the idea. And the teaching of contempt is basically an ad hominem attack against a group, ad hominem in mass.
Yeah. We just posted something recently that was just a meme that we share on every now and then on the Sunday morning. And it talks about, be careful parents, be careful. There are dangerous churches looking out there. Where are your children? And it's kind of like that play off that old thing about, do you know where your children are? And somebody commented on that, like, what a vile post. You're so angry. And I thought, really? I thought, your takeaway from this, I thought your takeaway might be that the vile church teaching the vile hate. But no, it's our vile. And that's an example of this. They turned it and ignored completely the point of the post and said, "Oh, you're just being so mean."
Again, it's, if you can't let yourself have freedom, then you have to pretend that people are not taking away your freedom.
Right. Instead of examining the point that was being made, it turned into a.
And this is interesting, Rob, because I don't want to give our power away by talking about people taking away our freedom. I'm not sure I've quite gotten that balance of naming it, but not being at the effect of it. To pretend that you are as,
Well, isn't the difference in you name it, so it's on your radar screen, so you recognize it, so it doesn't alter your course moving forward?
Yes, I think that may be it. Yes.
Yeah, the effect of it would be if it altered our course moving forward.
Well, and when you're a child, you may have certain abilities, certain freedoms or power for how you choose to interpret things. But if your father's a raging alcoholic who beats your mother or whatever, the naming it allows you not to keep, searching your own soul, trying to find a way to stop it.
Or explain it. Or
explain it why it's your fault,
exactly.
And then I can fix it, which is classic. We do that all the time. So it's a balance, it seems, between naming the, oh my gosh, there was such a good phrase about it, about a truncated, dysfunctional capitalism, that where the wealth inequity is so humongous. I wish I had the quote at hand, but anyway, so to recognize that is empowering, but not to say, therefore I have no power, because we have power.
Right.
We have power. We have a lot of power as human beings.
Isn't that the goal of all these things? And we just talked about this, that the goal in the guilt and the shame is so we stop. That's key right there.
Yeah.
We stop and think, ooh, is that true of me?
Yes.
Should I change? Oh my gosh, did I cause this? What do I,
Right.
Instead of saying, keeping the focus on those who are doing the oppression.
Yes. Like my friend.
Oppressing.
My friend who taught me about the angry black woman trope. I didn't know that before. I'm not black. I didn't experience that, but she is. And she said, yeah, it's this thing that you really watch your own behavior, so you're not the angry black woman. Well, why would they make that a trope? Black women have a lot to be angry about if you look at it. But if you make it a trope, then they'll dance around it and do everything to avoid being that.
Instead of focusing on what they're angry about.
Instead of saying, no, this is anger. Yeah. This is something we need to fix, which is the point of anger, to motivate you to helpful action. And the angry LGBTQ people too, Well,
like I just talked about too. Why are you so angry?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Right. Do you want a list of what there is to be angry about? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So, and the difference with vengefulness, the difference with wrath and anger. Wrath is a desire for vengeance. And I am angry at the injustice of the world, and I really have to find my balance, so find my own peace, because I want it fixed. That's why we do this work, to fix our corner, But when there's just a desire for vengeance, then it's wrath. It's kind of a deeper thing. We watched a TED Talk recently by Scott Galloway called How the U.S. is Destroying Young People's Future. It had something like 5 million views in the first 2 weeks, and he dissects the data showing that young people in the U.S. are financially worse off than ever before. And the root causes and effects he unpacks of this great generational theft, and asking why we let it continue. and showing how we could make it end. And that's a lot of big stuff. And he says in there, things that will just make your blood curdle. But the inequities happening all around us that we know intuitively, I don't want to say it's harder for kids today, but it's harder for kids today. In this talk, he puts all the pieces together so there's no pretending that somehow, some way, maybe it's just our imagination and maybe you just didn't work hard enough.
Yeah. But like you said, I mean, anger is not bad. It has a place.
It has a place. And it's not where you want to live because you weren't designed to live there, but it's a motivator to move you into helpful action. Yeah. At the core of your anger is your personal power. I just heard that recently and I really love it. At the core of anger, not the angry outburst that we all hate, but the emotion of anger, at the core of that anger is personal power. And I love that. So I want to tell a little story. Okay, so this is an Olympic summer, and we love women's gymnastics. That's really our favorite part. And sometimes they'll talk about beam, and the commentator, this ex-Olympian, whatever, talked about angry beam. And she said, when you go out, that's when you go out and you attack beam. And it's like you have something to prove, that you've overcome an injury or you fell off at last competition or whatever, and now you're going to prove yourself. And so you go on and attack the beam, and they call it angry beam. And I love that because timid beam is when you fall off. And you would think it would be the other way. You'd think when you attack the beam, you're more likely to fall. You need to be careful, watch out, but that's not true. We've heard that repeatedly from gymnasts or from athletes, but the more you attack it and take it on, the more empowered you are and the less likely to fall and make mistakes. I love that. And if you're angry at your family, at church, at politicians, that's a healthy thing to happen. You're going to want to move through it for your own well-being.
Yeah. But to be angry at injustice is a step up in mental health from dejection, depression, resignation. Right. And you don't want to stay there in that
anger.
In that anger, just let it seethe because your body can't take it. You need your body to live the rest of your life, right?
Right.
But you need to go through that anger, not around it.
Right. Because it moves you. The dejection, depression, resignation, those are all lower levels of emotion, meaning it's more you're like kind of
needing to express something.
You're like you've given up.
Yeah.
And anger is taking it back on again and saying, no, this is not right. We're not doing this, and moving forward in whatever way you've had to. And I've had to go to the mat myself on this because I don't want to sacrifice my ongoing health to anger at people and systems that I can't change. But to deny your anger because you're told that being angry is wrong. Women, haven't we been told that? LGBTQ people, haven't you been told that? Black people and other people of color. Yeah, that being angry is wrong. It's a sin, whatever. You just need to submit. And that's just gaslighting and scapegoating. We want you to be under our control, but we don't want you to be angry about it.
Yeah.
There was a young dad who asked me how to help his daughter eat her food, how he could get his daughter to eat her food that he wanted her to eat and to be happy about it. I said, okay, so you want to compel her to voluntarily eat food she doesn't like. He said, yeah, I guess that's it. And that's what's going on here. The system is totally unjust, but we want you to be happy about it.
Yeah. Now, wrath in this case would be a desire for vengeance. That's hard not to have sometimes, but especially it's in, it's that word is in the news right now, big time. You know what I'm talking about. But wrath would be a desire for vengeance against those who perpetrate the injustices.
Yeah.
While anger is a desire to stop the injustice or fix the injustice.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
That's a huge difference.
Huge difference. And all the while the church tells you not to be angry at the way they're treating you. They're angry at you for challenging the system, for not keeping their neatly outlined rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wrath, really.
That's
from
wrath.
The church,
That's right. From the conservative church, they want you punished for breaking their rules. The conservative church envies your freedom and they don't want God to be okay with you as you are, because they want you to pay for not giving into their leadership over you. They don't want grace to go too far, quote unquote. They really don't. Churches use that phrase with us before. Don't let grace go too far. Really? How could grace go too far? How could grace go too far? Anger needs to go upline to whatever powers that be are causing the injustice or contributing or perpetuating the injustice, while the care and help goes downline to the people in need. And Martin Luther King Jr. was angry. Jesus was angry. Malcolm X was angry. And they all got martyred for taking on the system. So it's a big thing. That's also a thing to sort out. How much can you take on and remain sane? But don't let anyone tell you that God has a right to be angry, but you don't. That's not true. That God's anger at petty little things like who you love or what you wear, that kind of anger is necessary for some kind of divine righteousness. What? But your anger at a system that hurts you and others is unrighteous? No, that's not happening. That's not happening. Whatever they're telling you about God is their projection. I mean, how else can you interpret God but by projection? If God's anger is more petty than yours, then there's something wrong with that God. It's not God. Yeah. So what do you do with all this?
What do we do with all this? Yeah.
I just happened to come across a great article in a magazine. I hate to keep throwing resources at you like this. Rob's like this, it's hard to just maybe take in, but
that's good.
Anyway. But I just happened to come across a great article in Yes Magazine by Marjorie Kelly called Breaking Up with Capitalism. It's free to just go online and read. She talked about wealth supremacy, how wealth is above all else in our economic system. The extraction economy, where natural resources and human resources, workers, are extracted from as much as possible for corporate or shareholder gains and given back to as little as possible. And I can't recreate the article here, but if you're interested, it's worth reading. She says, we will never win against extractive capitalism by raw power, but we, the people, wield a more subtle power in the end, the ultimate power, which is legitimacy. When we withdraw legitimacy, we fatally weaken the system, turning its cultural foundation to sand. Why did apartheid fall? Because it lost moral legitimacy when people around the world denounced it as white supremacist, illegitimately favoring white people over people of color. And she said, we can change the system by denying its legitimacy.
Yeah, that's another way to put this idea of we want it to be on your radar screen. We want you to be aware of this so we can deny its legitimacy.
That's exactly right. That's what we're trying to do here in all of this deconstruction, is to deny legitimacy, not of God, not of Jesus, not even of the Bible when properly read. We're denying the legitimacy of religious leaders tromping through your sacred space with their propaganda about God, about God's opinion about you, about your worth or your unworth. That's what gets my blood flowing, is to deny the legitimacy of all of that. We deny the legitimacy of those voices in your head that were put there for you. And FreedHearts is an ongoing work party to clean out and scrub the walls clean from all their writing inside your head and your heart.
Yeah.
Those Bible verses they twisted and put in there, so now you...
And made up. And
they just keep coming back. We've got the scrubbies and the sanitizer. That's what we're here for. Hazmat suits.
And
we're taking that out.
And soon on the FreedHearts website, you'll be able to purchase FreedHearts scrubbies and sanitizer and hazmat suits. Yeah, beloved, don't be afraid to be honest about your anger at the injustices. Okay? Don't be afraid. We have one more episode on the deadly sins next week, and we have some fun with sloth and gluttony.
Fun.
if I'm not too tired or too full. Your heart deserves to be free, to enjoy life, to walk with hope and power and joy, to love and be loved as you are for who you are. That is why we do all of this. And that's why we'll be right here next week. We'll talk to you then.
Bye.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
You've been listening to the FreedHearts podcast. We have extensive resources and vibrant, inclusive community for you at freedhearts.org. Please just come say hello. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions for the podcast, just email us at podcast@freedhearts.org. Audio engineering is provided by Luke Johnson. The music is provided by Hannah Cottrell, our daughter, the Grammy-nominated Saint Sinner. You can find out more about her and her music at heysaintsinner.com. Please share, subscribe, and follow on your favorite platform, and support us if you can. Thanks for listening.